Okay, Hare Krishna, welcome everybody. So, today we are going to cover some very profound lessons from the 9th chapter. Before we begin, I will say the prayers to Guru and God and then I will play the Guru mantra. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalake Chakshuru Militamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare.
गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः.
Are you all ready? Shall I play the shlokas? So these are Shlokas 9.20 to 9.25. You already have the translations in our group. I think Chitraji shared it. So I'll start playing the Shlokas now.
त्रैविद्या मां सोमपाः पूतपापा यज्ञैरिष्ट्वा स्वर्गतिं प्रार्थयन्ते ते पुण्यमासाध्य सुरेन्द्रलोकम् अश्नन्ति दिव्यान् दिवि देवभोगान् ते तं भुक्त्वा स्वर्गलोकं विशालम् क्षीणे पुण्ये मर्त्यलोकं विशन्ति एवं त्रयी धर्ममनुप्रपन्ना गतागतं कामकामा लभन्ते अनन्याश्चिन्तयन्तो मां ये जनाः पर्युपासते तेषां नित्याभियुक्तानां योगक्षेमं वहाम्यहम् येऽप्यन्यदेवता भक्ता यजन्ते श्रद्धयान्विताः तेऽपि मामेव कौन्तेय यजन्त्यविधिपूर्वकम् अहं हि सर्वयज्ञानां भोक्ता च प्रभुरेव च न तु मामभिजानन्ति तत्त्वेनातश्च वन्दिते यान्ति देवव्रता देवान् पितॄन् यान्ति पितृव्रताः भूतानि यान्ति भूतेज्या यान्ति मद्याजिनोऽपि माम्.
Hare Krishna. So, who is reading today?
I'm reading.
Is you? Okay. Go ahead, Simranji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Those who 9.20, those who are well versed in the three Vedas and who purify themselves by drinking the Soma juice while worshipping me through sacrifices, pray for a passage to heaven. Having attained the world of the King of Gods, they enjoy divine pleasures in heaven like those enjoyed by the gods. Having enjoyed 9.21, having enjoyed the vast heavenly worlds, they return to the earthly plane when their merits are exhausted. Thus, following the Vedic rituals motivated by desires, they continue to cycle between the earthly and heavenly realms. 9.22 To those who always think of me and worship me with exclusive devotion, whose minds are always absorbed in me, to them I provide what they lack and preserve what they have. 9.23 Those who are devotees of other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship only me, O son of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way. 9.24 Indeed, I am the enjoyer and the Lord of all sacrifices, but they do not recognize me in truth. Therefore they fall. 9.25 Those who worship the celestial gods go to those gods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship spirits go to the spirits. and my devotees come to me alone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. What an awesome conclusion. My devotees come to me.
Only.
Isn't it beautiful? Okay, first of all, thanks to all of you for your support and joining these sessions. So, in the previous Shlokas, between 9.12 and 9.19, if you remember, Sri Krishna discussed what happens to the non-believers, what happens to those of demoniac nature. And he also spoke about what happens to Mahatmas. You remember, Krishna used the term Mahatma, and we discussed who Krishna thinks is eligible to be called as a Mahatma. So he spoke about both extremes, the Mahatmas as well as the atheists and demoniac people. Now in these verses 9.20 to 25, here is where Krishna is paying attention, or he's talking about those in the middle. In my opinion, majority of us, I think, fall in the middle. So that is why I was saying this is going to be very important for all of us. So what does it mean in the middle? How does it define as? Very simply putting, people in the middle, they perform actions, they perform rightful duties, but they also have expectations. So a lot of us, we are in the mode of, if I do this, I have to get this. Otherwise, why should I bother? Correct? Everything needs to have an outcome. So, in other words, we are doing karma, but we are not yet fully in nishkama karma. So, if you remember back in the second chapter, there was a term used, moha kalilam. You remember that. Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyatitarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. Krishna said, when your intellect transcends the confusion and delusion, then you will attain dispassion for what is yet to be heard and what has been heard. So there is the term moha kalilam used, dense forest of delusion. So I picked up a few shlokas from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which explains very well what Krishna is explaining here. So Srimad Bhagavatam is also containing Krishna's messages, but it is written in a slightly different way there, but it will provide a good context to what we are studying here. So the shlokas that I am referring to, they are from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 23, and the 17th shloka there says, very, very profound, important shlokas, so please pay attention. It says, Arthasya sadhane siddhe utkarshe rakshane vyaye nasha upabhoga ayasastras chinta brahmo nrunam. Powerful. The message is, in the earning, attainment, increase, protection, expense, loss, and enjoyment of wealth, all humans experience great labor, fear, anxiety, and delusion. Rings a bell? A lot of us are in that mode where we face our fears, we have anxieties. So then let us see what is the message from Krishna. So this is a problem. Now, what is the message from Krishna? How are we addressing this problem? So for such people who are in this mode, and for such people to reach out to Krishna and understand his messages and how to strengthen our connection with him, Sri Krishna himself has provided a set of profound explanations which have been documented in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which are very relevant to what we are discussing here. So these come from Canto 10, Chapter 88, and Shlokas 8 to 10. Don't worry, I will share the notes. You will have the Shlokas and the numbers all there, so you can go and cross-reference. But these pretty much are, I would say, the most profound parts of what we are going to discuss. So I would appreciate if you listen to this with an open mind and full attention, and it may just open some doors in your mind. It may just, give you some aha moments. So Shloka 8 there says, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Yasya aham anugrahami harishye tat dhanam shanaiha tatah adanam tajanti asya swajana dukha dukhitham. Listen what Krishna is saying here. Very beautiful. Krishna says, when I favor someone, I gradually take away their wealth. Then their relatives abandon them who are deeply distressed by this person's misfortune. Krishna says, when I favor somebody, I take their wealth away. What a beautiful statement. And Krishna says, when wealth is gone, the relatives are also gone. Very, very logical. I mean, everybody can see in their own lives. That is life. If you don't have anything, then your relatives are the first to abandon you. But why? Let us go to the next shloka. Sa yada vitata udyogah nirvinannah syat dane haya mat pareh kruta maitrasya karishye madunugraham. When such a person becomes frustrated in their futile endeavors and loses interest in material wealth, and when they develop friendship with my devotees, I bestow my special mercy upon them. Making sense? So beautiful. What happens when we don't have anything? What happens when we lose everything? Automatically we remember God. Because at that time our relatives are not with us, they are all abandoned us. So-called fair weather friends are also nowhere to be seen. The people who usually say, hey, how would you do? Suddenly they are disappeared. So where else do you go? Then you go to the satsang. Because it is only the devotees who are going to respect you when you have nothing. Because these devotees don't really care about your material wealth. So Krishna says that will happen, and when that happens, when you start befriending devotees, then you start getting my special grace. Then he follows up. Tat Brahma Paramam Sukshmam Chin Matram Sad Anantakam Vijnana Atmataya Dhiraha Samsarat Parimuchyate. A wise person who attains clarity realizes the absolute truth, the Supreme Brahman, as the eternal infinite manifestation of pure consciousness on the fountain of their own self, the foundation of their own self. So this profound realization liberates them from the cycle of birth and death, which is also known as samsara. And that allows them to transcend the illusions of the material world and embrace their true nature, unite with the timeless, unchanging reality underlying all existence. The path of devotion to the Supreme is a profound journey that transcends the illusions of happiness and distress. So, on one hand, when we get something, we are happy. On the other hand, when we lose something, we are unhappy. But this path of devotion transcends both. That is why Krishna says avoid attachment as well as aversion. Because that is the path. If you are in attachment, you are going this side. If you are in aversion, you are going that side. But the path is right here. A very, very important thing that Krishna tries to explain. I'm saying tries to explain because Krishna has explained, but he is trying to put it in words that Arjuna can understand and that rest of us can also understand. Sometimes what happens, based on Krishna's teachings and based on our own, whatever we have learned from other places, what we think, today, most of us have this mindset that if something good happens, means I must have earned it. Correct? Like if I get a bonus, oh, of course, I worked hard for it. If I get a promotion, of course, I deserved the promotion. Not many of us will say when something bad happens, it is because of me. But let us say we are all advanced to that level. Even when something bad happens, then also we assume it is because of something I may have done. Because we are all on the path of Bhakti Yoga. We are all on the path of spiritual evolution. So we all understand. I hope you all understand karma. Hello? We spent at least 2 full chapters. Okay. So we all have this idea that if something bad happens, it could have been because of what I did. Correct? So in other words, cause and effect. So what Krishna is trying to explain is, this is specifically true for all of us. Why I'm saying all of us is we are all on the path of bhakti. We are all on the path of this journey. So for us, Krishna says, for such devotees, these are not just rewards or punishments for your own action, but rather opportunities to further grow in your relationship with the divine. In other words, These are opportunities which are orchestrated by Krishna himself. So when something good happens, don't just think it is because you did something. Maybe Krishna has created that goodness for a purpose. Just like that, when something bad happens, don't try to think, or just think on the line of karma. Because yes, the law of karma you cannot escape, but it is not just karma. Because now Krishna is actively involved in your life. When he is actively involved, even the negative things, the bad things, you have to remember that okay, Krishna is doing this. He has a plan and he is orchestrating that. That is what Krishna himself is saying here. Why? Krishna says, so that you consider those as opportunities to further grow. And when you grow, you become dear to me. Make sense? So we may wonder like if the Lord is so loving, if he is so caring, why does he put us through so much troubles? Why does he give us pain? It's a very natural question. Now here is where we need to try a little harder and understand the nature of Lord's love. What is the nature of his love? Very important to understand that. It is pretty much like how a father, loving father, will guide his children. Because a loving father, when the father guides the children, he's not all the time cajoling. He's not all the time saying goody things. He's not all the time sweet. Sometimes he has to be firm. Correct? Because he knows what is good for his child. But the child doesn't know. So he has to, sometimes there is no point trying to reason with the child because the child doesn't understand. So in some cases, for example, don't go near the fire. And there is a big fireplace in your house. And you cannot put out the fire and the child doesn't listen to you. So you have to be firm. Make the child sit on a high chair in a corner. But that is for the child's own safety. So that is the love of the parent, love of the father. Correct? So just like that, Krishna's love, the way it manifests, it may feel strict. It may feel like he's being very strict. It may feel like he's being very firm. But never doubt, he is very gentle. Because his intention is not to hurt you. His intention is to strengthen you. And you have to have that faith. Be it Guru or be it God. Only if you have faith, it's going to help you. There is a beautiful analogy given is imagine a rose flower which is gradually shedding its petals. So similarly, through devotion, our burden, the petals that we carry, the petals of past, present, future, karmic reactions, they all start falling away. And Krishna is guaranteeing that you will get liberation eventually. How? That is what Krishna is going to now continue talking about. He is saying, have faith in me, have humility, and what he is going to add here, which is already said before. Anybody, any guesses? This is my favorite word. What do you think Krishna is going to ask you to do?
Bhakti.
Yes, is there anything more specific?
Consistency.
Surrender.
Surrender, anything else?
Ananya Chintan.
Who was that? Ananya Chintan, Chitraji, you got it. Now Krishna is going to add that and make it more specific. In other words, this love has to be love of conviction, not love of convenience. Oh, today I have a party, so I have something more important to do. Or today I have some friends coming, so please you excuse me. And then when I have nothing else to do, oh Krishna, you are my best friend. Nobody else is there. Now you are my best friend, So that is a love of convenience. Or when you are in trouble, then Krishna, you are only there. Of course, Krishna is always there. But are you there for Krishna is the question. And that is what Ananya Chintan means. The true devotee, another very beautiful aspect that Krishna brings out is when these challenges are coming, a true devotee will not look at these challenges as something which are troublesome or something which are unwanted. But the true devotee will look at these challenges and say, I have special attention of Krishna. And Krishna is putting these troubles in my life for my growth. So this is like his special touch. He is paying attention to me. Because ultimately it is going to be for my benefit. Now if you take a simple example, you go to a doctor. Now the doctor comes with a scary looking injection. Don't you let him poke you? Why? Because you know that, yeah, it may hurt, but it's going to actually heal me. We understand that, correct? Just like that, when you have a challenging situation in your life, look at it as Krishna's injection and accept it that way. And you will definitely be healed. And you will definitely evolve. That is a very beautiful aspect that we need to understand. So this understanding is very important, not just when you are alive, it is also important for when you are dead. Because we discussed that death is just another beginning. Antakale. We had an entire chapter where we spoke about the technicalities of what happens after death and all of that. So you have to deal with Yamraja. Everybody has to deal with him. But can that be a pleasant experience, or do you want to make it a unpleasant confrontation? Because at the end, Yamraj is going to win. But do you want it to be a pleasant interaction, or do you want it to be a unpleasant? So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said again beautifully, Jivana Bhakti Bhagavat Gunanam Deyam Cheteha Cha Na Smarati Tat Charan Aravindam Krishnaya no namati yat shiraha ekada api tan ananyadvam asatah akruta Vishnu Krutyan. Yamaraj says, bring to me those sinful people whose tongue does not utter the names and qualities of the Lord, and whose mind does not remember his lotus feet. Bring to me those impious people whose heads do not bow down to Krishna even once, and who have not performed their duties to Vishnu. This is Yamaraj's statement to his servants. Does it sound familiar? We discussed this earlier in another poem. Someone else said it. Shankaracharya also said the same thing. In the Bhaja Govindam, I shared the whole Bhaja Govindam with you. So in Bhaja Govindam, the 20th shloka, beautiful shloka, where Shankaracharya says, Bhagavad Gita kinchita dita ganga jalalava kanika pita sakridapiyena murari samarcha kriyate tasya yamanena charcha. Let a person read but a little from Bhagavad Gita. Drink just a drop of the Ganga Jal. Worship but once Murari. Such a person will then have no altercation with Lord Yama. In other words, in the path of bhakti, even the suffering of devotees, they play a vital role because it creates a path for us to be devoted to Krishna. And when we are devoted to Krishna, once you become a devotee, then Yamaraj doesn't take pangas with you. Then Yamaraj doesn't try to make it an altercation. It becomes a smooth journey. Because as you saw in the earlier shloka, where Yamaraj was only asking his servants to target people who are not devotees. But once you are a devotee, you are on his friendly side. So he is only going to help you. Very important. There is one more reason why Krishna puts difficulties in our path. Because that is how you differentiate the sincere from the insincere. Are you really sincere on your journey? Are you really sincere on your path? If you are sincere, you will find a way. If you are not sincere, you will find an excuse. That is why Krishna will put some difficulties in your path, so that you yourself understand whether you are sincere or not sincere, and then you will make resolves and become sincere, because there is no other way. You have to be sincere. That is when conviction will come. Only when there is conviction, there will be Ananya Chintan, and when Ananya Chintan comes, you are on the right path. That is how this whole thing works. So in other words, see all challenges as a gift from the beloved. Can we all do that? How many of us can do that? Okay, awesome. Lot of us. We can all do that. Okay, Sujata and Rajesh disagree, and Ekansh is thoughtful. He is like, kaun sa difficulty aane wala hai, pata nahi. Yeah, see, these are all very simple but very profound exercises. In daily life, you don't have to wait for a catastrophe. Simple difficulties. You feel like taking a nice big walk, so you make plans. You say that on Sunday, I'm going to wear my new shoes and I'm going to go hiking. You have bought new shoes, you're all ready, you're all excited. and Saturday night it starts raining. Are you going to feel like, all negative feelings, or are you going to take it as, let me take it as a blessing? And how can I turn this into a blessing? Maybe I will spend some more time indoors, I will do some chanting, I will read some more Bhagavad Gita. Possible? That is all the message is. We are not asking you to do any complex yoga. All we are saying is change your mindset a little bit. In other words, have faith that the path of devotion is journey of love. Love doesn't mean, as somebody said in the West, love doesn't mean it is a bed of roses. Love means you are able to accept the thorns as well, without complaints. The other interesting thing is, okay, let me ask you differently, okay? Assume that it is bright and sunny and pleasant and you are taking a walk. At that instance, I ask you, what is the one thing that you long for? What kind of answers would come to your mind? Nothing. You don't long for anything because everything seems perfect. Okay. Now let us say a different scenario. You are walking, it's very dark, and there are these nocturnal animals and insects which are making noises, they are scaring you too, and you are beginning to feel afraid. Now I come and ask you, what is the one thing you long for? What would you long for? Practically.
Safety.
Okay. Anything
Grace
else that will...
of God. Grace of God, protection, essentially.
Protection, safety. And what do you think is going to give that? Yes, Chitraji?
Somebody that we can rely on.
Okay. How about sunrise? Is anybody going to long for sunrise? Let there be light and let my fears go away. Possible? You will long for sunrise? Okay, many people are shaking their heads, and so looks like you will long for sunrise. But nobody said they will long for sunrise when they were walking, when it was bright and sunny and pleasant and everything. Correct? In other words, you didn't even appreciate that sun which was present. True? When did the appreciation actually come? When it was dark. And when you are going through these troubles, then the appreciation comes for the beauty of the sunrise. Just like that, only when you are hungry, you will realize the value of the food. Only when you are thirsty, you will relish the sweetness of water. That is the nature. In other words, only when we have some difficulty, we are going to appreciate the grace of the divine. If everything seems to be going perfect, you will not even notice the divinity around you. It's not a fault of the divine, it is how we are made. It is our limitation. That is why in the previous session we said, unconditional love not possible for ordinary humans. Because everything in our life is need-based. There has to be a need. If there is no need, out of sight, out of mind. So these things are there. All Krishna is trying to say is, try to understand the nature of these difficulties. Don't just look at them as something meant to punish you, or don't just look at them as something meant to bring you down. They are actually my gifts. It is like your father who is coming into the picture and trying to help you, keep you safe and make you grow. That is all that Krishna is trying to say here. And on the same veins, Krishna is also saying that many people who pray to various demigods for short-term benefits, they don't realize that all their prayers, they are eventually reaching me only. And they go and do the worship in the wrong manner. And again, what Krishna says, he doesn't say don't respect demigods. That is not the point. What Krishna is saying is our method of worship should change. It should not be just to get short-term benefits. So this is what he is addressing. These are the people in the middle. They are not atheists, nor are they devotees. They are spiritual businessmen and businesswomen. If I want to pass an exam, I'll go to Saraswati. If I want to get a little bit of money, I will go to Lakshmi. If I want some protection from evil forces, I'll go to Hanuman. It's like we have different shops for different needs. And that is what Krishna is saying is not right. Because we need to understand that all of them, all your prayers eventually come to me. So pray only with the intention of getting divine grace and evolving in this path of bhakti. So don't run behind heavenly planets, because when you go to these demigods, the most they can give, apart from some material gifts, the most that demigods can give is heavenly planets. But what will you do with the heavenly planets? That cannot be our goal. Because we just read that you are going to come back down. What is the point? You are just extending the cycle. But what is the point? It is just like, renting a house. Eventually you have to leave the house, one day or the other. Why not invest in your own house? The sooner the better, na? That is what Krishna says. And there is a Bengali verse. I didn't get time to share it with my Bengali friends here, but I will try to do justice. It is just one line. This is beautifully said by Ramakrishna, the great saint Ramakrishna. Very beautiful, very simple. He says, Suchita ji, I cannot read it perfectly, but if I make a mistake, you please correct me. It says, Sekhane sekhane agyan, ekhane ekhane gyan. So it is there is ignorance, here is knowledge. It's very concise, very simple, but it brings a lot of profoundness to what Ramakrishna is saying. So he's talking about duality, agyan, and knowledge is gyan. So the repetition there and here, it emphasizes the presence of both ignorance and knowledge. So what is ignorance? Ignorance means lack of true knowledge and lack of understanding the ultimate reality, lack of understanding our own true nature. And gyan means the opposite, understanding our own nature, and which leads us to liberation. And Ramakrishna says that is very important. So what is the other message? Ramakrishna is saying you have to be mindful. You have to be mindful of this aspect. God is not there, God is here. So the moment you say there, God is somewhere up in the heaven, up in the sky, we are in the mode of duality. Like I think we discussed earlier somewhere, I don't remember which session, but another Mataji beautifully said, Jahan do wahan dukh. Jahan do hai wahin dukh hai. Matlab the moment it is duality, then it is dukh. Because you are living in a mode of separation. True knowledge means there is unity. And when there is unity, there cannot be pain, there cannot be suffering. I mean, these saints like Ramakrishna, they are different. I mean, they can convey so much in like one line, So all this leads to this one very powerful, very beautiful sloka from Sri Krishna. My humble request is this should be one of the slokas you have to really memorize. Memorize and keep it in your mind. Every once in a while, you should be able to recite it. There are a few such slokas. I can create a list and send it to you. These are the ones you should really try to memorize and repeat. So this is a very beautiful sloka. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Hare Krishna. So here Krishna is saying, those who always think of me, worship me with exclusive devotion, whose minds are always absorbed in me, to them I provide what they lack and preserve what they have. What else do you need? Beautiful, profound assurance given by Shri Krishna. What is the only thing Krishna asks us? Can somebody tell me again?
Chintan.
Yes. Now I think people remember it. Ananya Chintan. I cannot repeat it enough times because that makes all the difference. The moment you switch from convenience to conviction, the magic starts happening. Till then, you can keep, trying all your life and wondering why nothing is happening to me. Why I am not seeing any bliss. Why I am not seeing any magic. Why I am not. You are not, because you are still in the mode of convenience. And that is the only thing Krishna is asking. Switch to the mode of conviction. And then you see the magic happen. Chintan is not enough. It should be Ananya Chintan. Then see the magic. That's what Krishna says. Once you get into Ananya Chintan, he says, then you don't worry about anything. I am there to take care of you. So beautiful, correct? See, it is like, you are trying to watch something in TV, something that is very beautiful, something that you really like to watch. Now, what happens if somebody takes the remote, Lakshmiji's grandson comes, picks up the remote and channel 1, channel 9, channel 15, channel 19, channel 25, what's going to happen? The TV is running for hours, but do you get anything out of it? No. What is required is pick one channel and stick to it. Then you get something out of it. Bhakti is like that. Krishna is saying, today I think of God, tomorrow I think of something else, day after tomorrow I don't think of anything. It can't be like that. It has to be Ananya Chintan. Tune to me, tune to my channel and keep the remote safe. That is conviction. And once you get into the mode of conviction, as I say, the magic will happen. This is the only thing that is missing in many devotees' path, which needs to be fulfilled. So this assurance again is true. The assurance comes from Krishna, so you can have complete faith in it. And this assurance is for pure devotees. This assurance is not for spiritual businessmen or businesswomen. It is not for people who will go to Krishna when they are in trouble. It's not for people who will think of Krishna only when they have nothing else to think about. They all make us businessmen and businesswomen. It's not for them. Once we become real devotees, what makes you real devotees? Even when things are not working the way you want it to work, are you still in love? And even when things are going really cool, really great, are you still in love? That is all. That puts you in Ananya Chintan. Get into that mode and then enjoy life. You will enjoy a different flavor of life. That is all Krishna is saying. There are many examples, real life examples, where you could see this assurance of Krishna in action. And I picked two examples. One of that is example of Swami Prabhupada, and the other is the example of Swami Vivekananda. There are countless examples, but these two are very popular, so I thought I will pick them. So, Swami Prabhupada is a very remarkable evidence of this Krishna's assurance of, Yogakshemam Vahamyam, where I will provide what you lack and I will help you sustain what you have. You can see that how it actually happened in real life. So, in 1965, at the age of 69, Srila Prabhupada, he embarked on a journey to United States with a new mission. Just imagine, at the age of 69, he has that passion, he has that drive to travel abroad to United States in a ship on a mission to do something. That itself is so much to be amazed. What was his goal? His goal was to spread the teachings of Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. That was his primary goal. He wanted to spread it in English language based on the instruction by his own guru. So he arrived in New York. When he arrived in New York, he really had no money. He had no contacts. And at that time, there was no ISKCON. So he didn't have any institutional, organizational support. He was just by himself. And it is documented, there are documentaries on this. Prabhupadaji's early life was very difficult in New York, full of hardships. He had to stay in many different places, temporary accommodations and all of that. And mostly he was staying in a place called Bowery, which is known for poverty and crime, because that is the cheapest place, one of the cheapest places. However, the point to note is, in all these difficulties, in all these hardships, he never questioned the divinity, he never questioned God. His faith was strong. That is what is meant by conviction. He had the conviction that Krishna must have a plan for me. I have come, he will take care. He never lost sight of his goal. Okay, so, and in spite of all these hardships, in spite of poverty, in spite of not even having a permanent place to live, he kept spending time focused on his mission. He will spend countless hours translating the Srimad Bhagavatam, translating the Bhagavad Gita. And then the magic started happening. Magically support started coming in. magically money started coming in. And in 1966, he established ISKCON. So the first ISKCON was set up in a small storefront in New York City. So beautiful. And from this humble beginning, see where it has reached, where ISKCON is today. And his Prabhupada's this kind of Ananya Chintan, this kind of strong devotion, it is said that it transformed the lives of a lot of materially minded people who would otherwise been lost in life. And Prabhupada was also a very good speaker, orator. So he could talk on the principles of love, service, self-realization, and he impacted so many people. So now listen how Krishna's blessings played out. We only so far saw the difficulties, like old man going on a ship. In fact, it said that on the ship he fell so sick that people said, Swamiji, you will die. What are you doing? This is not for you. But he was like nothing doing. This is my mission. I'm going ahead. He had the conviction. Now see the magic. Within a decade of arriving in United States, Prabhupada ji had already circled the globe 14 times. 14 times he circled the globe after the age of 69. He initiated more than 5,000 devotees personally. And he established more than 100 ISKCON centers worldwide. Imagine, can any of us even dream of anything remotely close after the age of 69? We are starting and doing all this. That is Yogakshemam Vahamyam, where you see Krishna's assurance playing out. And what was the prerequisite? Prabhupada ji already demonstrated that. Ananya Chintan, no matter what. Isn't it beautiful? Similarly, there is the story of Swami Vivekananda. It is not as dramatic, but it is still a very sweet story. And this story, Vivekananda ji himself used to quote many times. So I know it is authentic. So it is said that once he was traveling by train, he had no money. And there was this wealthy passenger and he was making fun of Vivekananda for his poverty, And Vivekananda felt very dejected, and so he just got off at the next station and he went and sat under a tree. These are olden times when there were a lot of trees everywhere, not like today, So he just went and sat under a tree and he was feeling very hungry and he was not sure what he's going to do next. At that moment, a stranger out of nowhere, he comes and he looks at Swamiji and he says, Swamiji, I have got some food for you. And Vivekananda is very surprised. And he tells that guy, my friend, you must be mistaken. I don't know you. And you definitely don't know me. So maybe you are mistaking me for somebody else. And this stranger was actually the owner of a shop that makes sweetmeats. And then that man says, no, I'm not mistaken. He says, at night, Lord Ram appeared in my dream. And Lord Ram told me that one of my sincere devotees is in distress and he is near the station, so go give him food tomorrow. And he also says that in the dream, I saw you. It was you in my dream that Ram was pointing to. And Lord Ram told me, give this guy food. So I am not mistaken. Lord Rama has sent me to you. Just imagine, Vivekananda was so stunned. And Vivekananda himself says that I was moved to tears. That the divine is paying attention to me. The divine is vested in my well-being. He says, I felt so moved. I had tears in my eyes. And he says, that only strengthened my faith even more. And the faith that the Lord is always watching. And the Lord is always providing for his devotees. The Lord is only requesting, please practice Ananya Chintan, and then he says, I am there for you. So this particular story of Vivekananda ji, he has mentioned himself, and as I said, it has inspired a lot of people on the path. I hope it inspires you also. So trust in the divine plan, and you should know that help and guidance can come anytime. It can come in the most mysterious ways, miraculous ways. All we have to do is surrender. Surrender with total surrender, not with doubts, not with all these negativities, not with all these baggages. I will listen to you if you give me this, I'll be nice to you if you hear. No, no, no. It has to be total. Surrender means surrender. There is no, I will surrender if. The moment you say I will surrender if, that is not surrender. Saying that I will surrender if. There is no if in surrender. There is no but in surrender. Then it is not surrender. And then in 9.25, Krishna summarizes what he is talking about. He says, those who worship the celestial gods, in other words, those who worship the demigods, they will go to those gods. Those who worship the ancestors, they will go to the ancestors. And those who worship the spirits, I don't know if you know, there are people who worship the ghosts also. There are such people also. And he said they will go to those ghosts and spirits. And those who worship me, come to me. How simple and how straightforward can it be? So that brings us to the 10th pragma. Seeing Krishna in everything and everyone, practice devotion and humility consistently. How many of you are willing to commit to this? That you will learn to see Krishna in everything, Krishna in every place, Krishna in everywhere, and that we will practice devotion and humility consistently. Consistently. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yay, okay. Whoever has. Awesome. So that means this session was of some use to you, which I'm very happy, extremely happy. I will tell you, in my own life, the most difficult part was the consistency part. It took me a while to figure out. And I'm talking about many years ago. I'm not talking about just about Krishna Bhakti or those things. In anything. I used to be a guy who is full of energy, full of strength and josh, and I want to do this, I want to do that, And then, many, many years ago, I'm talking about when I was much younger, Krishna sent an old man my way. It was a very miraculous turn of events. That old man was looking for a job, and I referred my own team. My own team was looking for a very senior level guy, and I just connected him with the very high leadership. I mean, of course, I was a nobody at that time, so all I could do was send a mail, and I connected them. But miraculously, it all worked out, and before I could realize, he became my boss. And it was not expected. I just thought they're going to give him some senior position in our group, but they actually put him as the leader of my own group, and he became my own boss. And not just that, he also happened to live in my own building, and he was not that fond of driving, and I was very fond of driving. I told you, very young, very full of josh. So he started saying, why don't you give me a ride? And he's my boss now, right? So for quite some time, every day, I will take him to office and I'll take him back home with me. And initially, I felt very uncomfortable because I felt like my freedom is gone. Now I have to be careful what songs I listen to. I have to be careful when I go to office. I cannot be late. I have to be careful when I leave. I cannot go home early. I'm like, ये क्या मतलब ये क्या मुसीबत हो गया है types. But I'll tell you, in some of those trips, he shared some profound wisdom with me, and he kind of figured me out very quickly, and he helped fix some of my concerns. And one thing he told me stuck to me. He said, Vinayak ji, he said all the good things, brilliant, strong, all that. And he said, you start many things, but you don't finish everything. And that kind of really hit me hard, and I didn't even realize that was a bad thing. Why? I always thought, try as many things as you can. But then he gave me this wisdom. He said, starting 100 things and finishing 50 may look okay, but what is more important is you start one thing and you take it to completion. He said, that is more impactful. That stuck to me as a very, very young guy. And that shaped my life from that point onwards. It changed how I approached my new ventures and all of that. I started prioritizing better Before I start something, I started prioritizing which of these have the most likelihood of completing, because I need to see how passionate I am, you see. So that same message rings a bell here. When Krishna says Ananya Chintan, he is saying the same thing. He's saying, if you remember in the previous chapter, Krishna said, many people start the journey. Very few continue the journey. And he said, extremely few complete the journey. And our goal here is to complete the journey. And for that, conviction is extremely important. And if you are not having the conviction, Krishna will put troubles in your life and make you have the conviction. So that is the whole idea here. So if we can acknowledge this, if we can understand this, I think our journey will become more magical. And my best wishes and blessings to all of you, that you all stay convicted and you all have Ananya Chintan and you all experience Krishna's magic in your lives, and you all experience the power of Yogakshemam Mahamyaham. So with that, I'll stop talking. Hare Krishna, my dear Satsang family. If you have any questions, doubts, comments, please go ahead. It's yours.
Is Shiva considered as demigod?
It depends. Shiva was a Vaishnava. Shiva was a devotee of Krishna, Vishnu, and Vishnu was a devotee of Shiva. So, but it depends on how you approach Shiva. If you are going to approach Shiva like you approach a demigod, then you can say Shiva is a demigod. But if you are approaching Shiva just as another form of the divine, that holds true for any demigod. That is what Krishna is saying. Krishna is saying the way we approach them is wrong. Krishna is not saying approaching them is wrong. So, for example, you look at Devi and you say that, I am bowing down to the feminine aspect of the divine, that is perfectly fine. There, you won't consider that as a demigod worship. But if you approach, like I said, if you are approaching a Devi like a Saraswati and you are saying, Saraswati ji, I need to pass an exam, that's why I'm coming to you. Or you go to Lakshmi and say, no, I need to get some wealth, that's why I'm coming to you. Then that is demigod worship. But if you look at Saraswati and say, I see the feminine aspect of the divine in you, that's perfectly fine. That prayer goes to Krishna, that prayer goes to Vishnu. I hope that makes sense, Mitaji?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That means, Guruji, if I'm worshipping any god, but in my mind is like to get the moksha, whatever the path I have to, walk to get the moksha, that is in my mind, but I'm worshipping any god, that is fine, right?
See this, your answer is probably in the question itself. What do we mean by I will worship any god? See, that is what we discussed. There is only one God. There is only one supreme Brahman. With that mindset, what you can say is, this is what in the very beginning, in the introduction to Bhagavad Gita, we said, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. That is in the Rig Veda, where it says that there is one truth, but people perceive it differently. They look at it differently. So you can say that, can I choose to worship any form of God? That is a good question. But if you say, can I worship any God? Then that is not the right question. Okay, so you can say that, for example, I'm giving you a very crude example. You can say that I'm a cobbler, I see God in a shoe. That's fine, because you are right. God is everywhere. That includes the shoe. But that is your bhava, your intent. That matters. I hope that answers your question, Ashaji. Yes, if you see God in Shiva, go ahead. If you see God in the form of an animal, go ahead. No, because God himself came as a fish, he came as a tortoise. That is fine. But your bhava, your intent should always be, I am seeing the divine through this form. Because even in this chapter, did Krishna say that you should see me in everything? So if you can see Krishna as just, this is also Krishna in another form, you are fine. You are all good to go. The problem is only when we bring in duality. When we start saying, oh, this God is better than that God, this God is only for money, this God is for... Then the problem comes.
Or maybe Or maybe in your mind, initially you get attached to some god. It could be demigod, and you just thought he is my Ishtadev. And then when the slowly and steadily things start changing, and you realize, I mean, how truth it is, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, and very few people would, in my experience, chant for Brahma. So it is either Shiva or Vishnu. Then you really start thinking what exactly is happening to me, how I am changing. I mean, I'm of course, talking about myself. And then when there are two main gods, Shiva and Vishnu, amongst these three, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, then you are confused. And when you start reading Bhagavad Gita, we constantly talk about Krishna. And in mind, probably it is Shiva. Then you probably think about yourself and your life and your likings. Are you the yogi that Shiva is? Are you following that kind of lifestyle? Then probably Krishna, who was also in a very small way, not the Vishnu, the Krishna that he enjoyed life at the same time. So there is a lot of confusion in my mind personally uh, when I think about one God. So which one God it is?
No, that's a good question. So I think I will take you back to Krishna's own statement in the Bhagavad Gita, where he said that I am the one who manifests everything. Do you remember that? Everything comes from me. The universe has come from me. Correct? So that is your Brahma. And Krishna said that everything eventually comes back to me. I am also responsible for dissolution. Is that also clear? Your memory? That is the Shiva aspect. So all I'm saying is, look at Shiva and say, this is the dissolution aspect of the Supreme. Look at Vishnu and say, this is the creation aspect of the Supreme. Don't look at Shiva and say, this is a different God and Vishnu is a different God. That's all I'm saying. And this is what Krishna is also saying. Okay, so, as you pointed out, Smitaji, it is about your own alignment. You can feel comfortable with a particular aspect of the divine. That is okay. Like Ramakrishna used to be focusing on the Devi aspect, the feminine aspect. That is fine. As long as the truth is clear. Ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti. So sat is one. And you are choosing to see it in a different way. Like if you remember in the Mahabharata, when Arjuna was very curious, he told Krishna, I want the Vishwarupa Darshanam. And then when Krishna actually gave him the Vishwarupa Darshanam, he couldn't handle it. And then what he says in the end, he says, Krishna, I'm comfortable with your usual form. Come back to that form with 2 hands and 2 legs. And Krishna, because he loves Arjuna as a friend, he said, oh, yes, fine. He came back. So Arjuna was comfortable being devoted to a form with 2 legs and 2 hands. That's okay. But Arjuna is not of the mindset that this is a different God than what I just saw. And that is where the problem comes. So our confusion in our community is all because people have all been busy creating divisions. Because there is always a selfish motive. When somebody preaches, they are not preaching just to spread knowledge. They are preaching so that they can enroll you into their club or into their temple or into their ashram. That is where the problems began, because that is the fundamental difference between spirituality and religion. In religion, it is all about power. It is all about control. Whereas spirituality is the other way, where it is all about giving up, letting go. So these confusions are that way. So one group of people will say, you have to come to my temple, you have to, only pay donations to my leader. And that is where all these problems started.
Guruji, I also have one small question.
Yes. One more last
Guruji,
question. Yeah.
Guruji, it is like before starting Bhagavad Gita, I usually used to think like Sai Babaji is different. If I don't take name of Shivji, Krishna will get mad at me. I don't know why it was like at that time you think like that. If you try to remember every god, right? Because they were on Bhagavad Gita, we started Shravan, right? I felt that everything is one. So now whenever I bow down to any of the god, I just see it is one. It is just another form, and I'm going down to the supreme, that is Krishna.
Excellent.
So, but when I do chanting, whatever time I'm doing, like while I'm working, so I don't know. While working, I instantly start chanting Sai, 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 and sometimes I chant Radha. So when I do this, at last I definitely say this, whatever the result, I just bestow to you. I don't want anything. I just want to take your name. That's it. So I bow down all the result to Krishna. But I came across a video. In that video, they were telling that you should not chant like a lot of mantras. My cousin Nanaji, he himself says only chant one mantra. Don't take many names. Is it something wrong? Or
Yeah, see, I will not dictate anything. I will not say that I am the authority or I will tell you what is right. But what I can tell you is where the problem is Ananya Chintan is the goal. That's what we discussed. Ananya Chintan means one point focus. How can you have one pointed focus if you are having too many points? Correct?
Hmm.
That is the reason our ancient people have said that pick any one. Because only when there is one point you can have one pointed focus. Otherwise we get diversified, we get distracted. That is the whole idea. But even if you are saying Om Sai, if the bhava is the same, if you are still saying that no, I am seeing the Guru in you, and through you I'm going to reach the divine, it's all fine. But majority of people treat Baba also as another transaction. Like I came to Shirdi 3 times, so now we have to solve my problem. So this should not be how we approach it. That is the whole thing. See,
Yeah.
if you see this sloka, this is sloka 23, 9.23, where Krishna says that those who are devotees of other gods and those who worship them with faith, they are actually worshipping me only, son of Kunti, but they are just doing it in the wrong way. So if you see, Krishna's focus is on the method of worship. Krishna will never say that, I am not going to grace you if you worship somebody else. That is not what he says. He always says your method of worship has to be right, and you have to always be in the consciousness, mindfully aware that this is going to Krishna or this is going to the same supreme God. All my worship. So that is all is being said. So I hope this all makes sense. I know I have taken a lot of your time, and I'm very grateful to all of you for staying with me and being patient. So I think other questions and comments we can take in the next session, because I want to be respectful of everybody's time commitments. Okay, Poonamji, can we take this next session? Whatever you have to say. So thank you so much. Hare Krishna. See you all in the next session.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Jai Sai Ram. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Good day.